2008 marks the 60th anniversary of Farnborough, 37 air shows during those years, and the gentlemen standing with me have covered a fair share of those shows, both as spectators and also as journalists. I'm joined by AIN Magazine senior correspondents Brian Walters and Ian Goold. Thank you so much for coming by. And Brian, let me start with you. Some of the, maybe the major change that's occurred over the years that you've seen here at Farnborough.
The major change, as I recall, is the sheer numbers that were exhibited in 1959 and the comparatively few that you've got here in the Static Park today.
I was just saying, one would assume years ago that there were fewer aircraft out here. Why the change?
There were two reasons, I think. One, because the European industry had been suppressed during the Second World War, and there were all sorts of ideas bubbling up when they couldn't take form. Well, they could once the war was over and they could start collecting money. The other thing, alas, was the Cold War. So an industry which had been building for defense had to continue to building defense because we were facing a new potential enemy.
Now, Ian, are you agreeing with all this, or you think it's pretty much along the tracks that Brian's laying out here?
Everything he says is right and valid. The big change otherwise that I would highlight is the sheer universality of the industry now. It's a global show, it's a worldwide industry. This is the place to be this year.
Has it always been a popular show, something that drew large numbers of people?
Absolutely. It drew Brian here long earlier than it drew me.
You were 15, I believe you said, when you came
I was
to your
15,
first show.
yes. And I was remarking on the buses that are being shown here because I came by train from London to Aldershot. We disgorged into the road outside, and there was a huge queue for buses. But it was a very well organised operation, and the buses brought us to the show here.
Well, when was that?
That was 59.
59, right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I first came in 61, which is about the same period, but I came in pedal power on my bicycle, which is not quite the same as using public transport. Now we both have our free bus passes. We can travel the length and breadth of the land free on buses.
I believe it was a little different as a journalist when you were covering in those days, as far as your experience with aircraft and being able to, let's say, have a hands-on experience.
Yeah, I was very lucky actually because fairly late in life, I suppose, I learned to fly and I got my private pilot's license. I had already then begun freelance writing. But having a license opened the doors when I came to a show like this, and I would look at a manufacturer and say, can I fly your trainer after the show? Yeah, okay, come down here at 5:30, and I would go up and do whatever I could in this aeroplane. It was great.
Back in the 1950s, the celebrity of the test pilots, they were sort of household names, and everybody
They were
knew.
superstars.
Well, if you like, and we're back into the early days of supersonic flying and breaking the sound barrier, etc., etc. People were coming here in 1949, 1950, 1951, hearing supersonic bangs for the first time when they were allowed to do such things. You know, it's politically incorrect now to make noise with an airplane.
But it was a celebrity-filled event because of the pilots and because the whole mystique, I guess you might want to call, of this change that was taking place in aviation.
Yes. I mean, I first flew 72 years ago. That's one of the things that I... So I was a sort of aviation person from an early age. And Neville Duke was a test pilot flying at the Hunter at that time. And years later, he was sitting next to me as I was flying one of these light aircraft that I was talking about. You know, he'd long since retired, but he was keeping an eye and make sure that I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, sharing your experiences, and we are looking forward to many more years of coverage from Farnborough, from both of you as well, here on AIN Magazine and AIN TV as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ed.
So where's my electric trolley?
We'll get you a cup of hot chocolate for both of the gentlemen here.